All right, I've welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, July 31st, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here now flat to negative after being flat to positive earlier. The Russell 2000 is the big winner on the day here, up 88 basis points. A lot of that having to do with the energy sector, a lot of small cap energy companies, and the Russell 2000. And energy is on fire right now. Take a look at the XLE up 1.86%, XOP up 1.5%, OIH new 52-week high is up almost 2% there. Crude up 1.7%. So again, we'll talk about energy as we usually do, but that is leading the charge right now and continuing to push higher here. Technology, the laggard, right? So triple Qs here down just about 20 basis points. It's the last day of the month, maybe a little bit of summer doldrums action going on here. Monday, Monday kind of slowness here. I was telling my members here, look, this type of price action here, look at the range, right? So that's the market's way of telling you to just leave it alone for the day. Lots of backing and filling right now. Seeing a little bit of weakness in big tech. Apple is green here, just barely. Semiconductors down. Nvidia down fractionally. Microsoft down a little over 1% in Tesla. Now back to the red line there. So again, we're kind of seeing that slight weakness here in technology and high beta names, as opposed to, again, kind of the old world stocks. This is something we've talked about a lot lately. We're looking for, the financials. XLV is actually backing off a little bit today, but financials, healthcare, and energy to kind of take the lead here as we see the triple Qs not making a new high last week, whereas the spiders and the Dow and even the Russell did. Even though it was kind of a short-lived high, it still made a new high. So we're kind of seeing that rotation out of tech and into, again, energy and financials being the kind of the primary recipients there. Right now we are seeing, maybe a little bit of end of month rebalancing. You might see a little bit of that going on into the close. So maybe we see a little bit more big tech selling as we get into the final half hour here, or actually 3:38. So final 20 minutes rather. And then tomorrow we'll see first of the month new money flows. We'll see maybe those pension funds, do they FOMO into, the Apples and the Microsofts of the world? Do we get those kind of bids here in the first half hour tomorrow? That's something that's going to be on my radar here, but I think kind of you're getting smart money to kind of move out of this and obviously rotate into energy and other things right now. As for tomorrow, or really tomorrow and into the middle of the week, we do have some earnings. AMD reporting tomorrow, Caterpillar. Then we have some, other smaller companies, PayPal. This is Wednesday. PayPal, Qualcomm, CVS, Shopify. Tomorrow also Pfizer, Merck, Starbucks. But obviously the big ones are Apple, Amazon. And then we have Conoco, Amgen as well on Thursday. So I do think the market probably hangs around in this range here if we flip back over. Probably hangs around in this range. We had, pretty good distribution volume on that move Thursday. Again, it wasn't, essentially, like I said, it got negated for the most part on Friday, but you had a decent uptick in volume, not 100 million shares, but 92 million is big. And we're not above that yet. So until we take that out, we're still inside of that move. Again, it did get negated for the most part on Friday. We never even tested the 20 moving average. We did put a fake print in though, which would take you to gap fill. So we could go test that maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. And then I think you probably could get some type of a pump off Apple and Amazon, possibly giving us one more push higher. Where could we go? Well, let's take a look. So there's your 464 area on the spiders. That was that pivot way back in actually March 29th. I almost said April. It was actually in March, last trading day of March, I believe. Second to last, third to last, whatever. But all the way up there. So 460, so that's 462, not 464. This is 464, 72. That's a gap. And if we look on the weekly, you can see it right there. Weekly gap as well. So an area, possible upside areas there for the spiders. I think the triple Qs, if they're going to make new highs, it's going to be a little bit more nominal. So maybe like 390, Pierce of 390, whereas I think that, again, like I've just been saying, I think the upside is more so in the spiders and sort of the less so technology names. But right now, Markets are holding up, until we break either this trend line or the 20 moving average or both. Trend is up, and the market can go higher. It's really that simple. But that's kind of my outlook here going into Apple, Amazon earnings. I do think we're kind of maybe sideways to lower. We might do a little bit more backing and filling into this trend line, but I don't see any significant downside unless we get some sort of geopolitical or something out of left field there. By the way, speaking of geopolitical, Bank of Japan already started to reverse their yield curve control. That kind of fell apart after 2 whole days there. If we take a look at the yen versus the dollar, or dollar yen, big bid there, and the DXY, which we'll talk about as always, that's holding up here. We'll get into that in a little bit. Back above that 20 moving average. So again, more liquidity here for the markets right now, and that's really all that matters in the near term. And again, we'll watch those levels here. But we take this level out, then things get more interesting to the downside. But for right now, we're hanging in there. Triple Qs, same thing. I do expect more relative weakness in the Qs. You get back below 380, it gets interesting because then you're back below this trend line as well as that psychological 380 area. And then if you take out 374.34, you've got a daily chart lower high and lower low. That would be very interesting and not insignificant to me. That opens the door for a move down to this trend line, and to be the first time we'd break this uptrend, since like March. So that's a big, it's a big deal there. It's, we've been just kind of running on fumes, running on FOMO, running on euphoria. Eventually all trends come to an end. But right now it's still safe. I'll be watching that very intently going into Apple and Amazon. Russell 2000, that can still get up to 202. 200 to 202 there. Nice pop, little bull flag. We talked about that last week. Even despite that reversal, we never closed below that low. So daily chart inside bar still was valid. And we're above that now, so we are negating it on the Russell there. And again, financials are green today, energy's big green today, and that is helping out the IWM. I believe, industrials, let's see, mats are green. But yeah, energy definitely the big winner there and helping out the Russell. Dow, again, backing off of our 355 area. We talked about that as being somewhat major there. I mean, the Dow had like a 13-day winning streak or something like that. So again, little overbought here. Does need to do some consolidation and back in filling. But again, it's holding up okay. I don't really see any issues. You take out, 352, then maybe you go test that 20 moving average as a gap right there. And then that previous pivot there around 348, but no problems here with the Dow right now. SMH, again, fractionally lower, nothing really terrible going on there. AMD tomorrow, that will set the tone for the semiconductors on Wednesday. I'm in the camp here that AMD is topped out. I'm not saying that it can't, make a slight nominal high, but on the monthly, I'm seeing some things here. There's a lot of resistance up here at 130. Let's see if it pops. We'll see what happens there on earnings, but holding up okay right now, and semiconductors are as well. IGV hanging in there up 3.85, not percent. Up $4, let's call it, back to the 363 handle. And again, got a little bit of a bid, curled back up off that 20 MA, and you're going to close above last Thursday's candle. So that's a sign of strength there for IGV. Still resistance, though, with this pivot. And right now, it's just consolidating, so no real problems. You start taking out these levels and reversing, then you've got a trend line down here, and you got the 20-week moving average. But right now, no real problems there. With IGV, transport's finally backing off as well. This is really overbought and extended, but again, trend is, you can even make a case. Look how steep this trend line is on the transports. Right, like here's your 20 moving average, and there's this trend line here. It's not even, there's a good amount of space in between that. So really, really extended here on the DJT, going into some pivots, and then 17,000 above that. But again, it's very strong, and you got to respect it when the transports are strong there. You take this out, then we can start talking about levels on the downside. Probably, 15.5, 15.6 is gonna be a big level there. But EJT is holding up right now, and that's all that really matters. All right, interest rates here backing off just a little bit. 2-year basically flat, 4.879, down just 0.2 of a basis point there. Nothing crazy. Let's not make too much out of it. 5 years green, holding up okay above that 20 moving average. That looks good. 10-year looks really good as well. This is looking like it wants to curl back up. If this flags a little bit longer, another week or so, this can really pop. 30-year, same thing. Starting to put in an immature inside bar there. You break above these pivots, 4.2, 4.25 is your next big level. So interest rates looking really strong here. And you guys know it. I've been in that camp for a long time. They're not going back down. Even if they do, it's not going to be that much lower. We're not going back to ZERP for a long time. All right, XHB is red on the day. So down 17 cents. Nothing crazy here. This can still get to double top just above 86. ITB, that is still inside of that red bar from DR Horton earnings. But again, trend is up. No real technical damage. It's hanging in there. And that can ultimately still go higher. VNQ, that is green on the day, up 40 cents. Again, a little bit of weak price action last week. It didn't rally with the rest of the market on Friday. We'll have to watch this. I want to see how it behaves around 83.90 to 84 bucks. You've got a 83.24 here is your breakout bar low. As long as it holds that, this can curl back up and consolidate for a move into the low 90s. But right now I'm watching it on that trend line here, and it is doing some backing and filling, so I don't really see any issues. This could also be a sector that is a laggard bull, being those kind of REITs and general real estate equities. But VNQ hanging in there okay. XLF was up a lot more today, but now fading back to the flat line. JPM had a big bid early on, then came back in. Still an inside bar there on JPM. That looks okay to me. XLF still has a lot of resistance at 36 to 36.25. But it's hanging in there right now. If that 20 moving average catches up, it can get one more bid. I don't see any problems. KRE and KBE both consolidating here. No issues there either. Just a little overbought and need to do some consolidation. Broker dealers down 37 basis points on the day. That may need the 20 moving average to catch up to price, but that can still go higher as well. Over to energy and commodities here. Crude, again, getting a nice bid. We mentioned that already, obviously. Beautiful break of that trend line. We throw our other trend lines on there. They should get to 82.50, 82.75, maybe even a Pierce of 83, which is not that far away here. High was 83.53 from April. Don't think it gets through that right away. I think it probably has to consolidate. You got 6 weeks in a row green, so it may need to back off a little bit. But you close. I told you guys, as soon as you close above these, you get these failed patterns. They're really good to know about, because when they fail, it usually means a big move in the other way. And as soon as we closed above that red inside bar pattern, took off. So crude continuing to hold up. I believe now, look, 67.50 to 81.39. Let's just do that really quick. Let's see, 81.39, 67.50. Yeah, so crude up 20.57% now since June 28th. That's going to be a huge move for month-over-month inflation. Just be aware of that. Crude getting a huge bit, and I don't talk about it a lot, but look at UGA. That's soaring. Also, XLE, which we talked about, that is soaring as well. Coming in just a little bit here as we get to the end of the day. Speaking of failed patterns, I talked to you guys about this for months. Red bar inside generally implicates a move lower. If it fails, it implicates a move higher, much higher, and you're seeing energy take off here. So XLE holding up well. Does have a little bit of resistance here at 87.88. I want to see how it behaves there. These energy stocks, the OIH, I complain about it every day, just won't give me a pullback here. XLE, it took off this morning. I wanted to buy it here, but it took off this morning. I'd like to see it do some backing and filling, because I'm interested in this. XOP getting up into our levels now here. So this may need to actually do some backing and filling, though, and this could actually be a buy as well. Trend line right there, like another trend line above that. You're a little overbought. If that pulls back, I'd be interested in the XOP as well. So lots of stuff going on here in the energy space. Energy's on fire lately. That's where I think the money is starting to rotate to. And we talked about this, myself, Jason Burek, in the beginning of the year. We talked about in the recent podcast. Energy is going to take off in the second half of the year, and we're starting to see that happen here. Look where the bottom was here. The last kind of corrective move, late June, right? XLE, that last pivot low, mid to late June. XOP, same kind of deal. Crude, as soon as we get into late June, it starts taking off. So that second half of the year, we like energy here. But nice moves there. OIH, just won't give me a pullback. That wants to push up higher, though. And nat gas here, flat to positive here on the day, up just 2/10 of 1 cent there. COMEX close says it's red, but futures is green. hanging in there. This is coiled up for a move. I love the look on the weekly here. Nice base, nice inside bar, nice price action. Looks ready to go here. I think it just needs some type of a catalyst, but nat gas hanging in there as well, and really just an inside day, all things considered. Dollar index finishing at 101.88 here. Again, no problems. We had that big power surge reversal on Thursday, inside doji Friday, and another inside day here. If this consolidates, I talked about this over the weekend, you consolidate here and flag, it can have another zigzag up. The big level, again, is 102.56, spot 4 on the weekly. You close above that, dollar is going a lot higher. I'm sorry, it's just that's the way it works. But right now, we're going to be neutral on it until proven otherwise. This can still go lower, this can still fail here because the weekly is still more dominant, and we got to go with that until proven otherwise. But if it consolidates and flags here, you can have a zigzag up in the dollar, and then watch that level there on the weekly time frame. Gold here getting a little bit of a bid, although it did come decently off the highs. So it's hanging in there okay. So dollar green, gold green. And I don't talk about the VIX all that often, but VIX green today too. So it's almost like a risk off day with a green market. And I guess the market's not green anymore, but a flat market. Strange seeing that though. But gold here up 20 basis points. We're not going to make too much out of that. If the pattern firms up, it can have one more push here. I hate that contract roll over here. Looking at the GLD though, you can make a case it's trying to flag through this resistance zone, and then probably 185.50 is going to be your next big level there on the GLD. And then silver doing what it should right now, holding that 20 moving average, still has a lot of supply in that red bar. We'll see how the pattern shapes up here, but silver hanging in there okay. Platinum also getting a little bit of a bid. I still think that has one more leg lower. I'm really rooting for that too, but that did test the 960 handle, and that's where it stalled out. Then palladium here getting a nice bid as well. I still think that one has one more push lower. Copper breaking through our little wedge pattern there, and that's into 4. I think that can get to 405, but nice little pop there for copper. That's also up, 350 to $4. That's a 20% move as well since late May in copper. So nice pop there for copper. I think that can get into the low 4s to 405. That is holding up very nicely. Bitcoin, lastly here, just doing a lot more consolidation. This pattern is ready to move. You had an inside bar bear flag right here, and that is ready for a move. Potentially down. Obviously, the daily pattern does suggest that. The problem is the weekly, which is more dominant, suggests that, a dip could be bought potentially, right? So, you get to that 20 moving average. If you can't break below that and close below that on a weekly, this is still really good for a move to the upside. I like this pattern a lot here on Bitcoin. It's hard to find any reason to not like it. My only reason for not liking it is that it's almost too clean, right? And when too many people jump in on it, then it's like, okay, well, are they going to fake it out? But maybe the daily, I know most traders, the biggest mistake they make is they lock into the daily. I guarantee you 90% of people don't have any idea what the weekly chart of Bitcoin looks like. They're just looking at this bear flag on the daily and like, oh, it's bearish, even though the bigger macro pattern is bullish. So again, I'm not touching it right now, but this daily pattern looks ready to move in a direction here. But you need to see follow through. If you got to break 28.6, 28.5, I think you need to see follow through for the bears. If it doesn't follow through, you could get a bear trap and it could really take off. But Bitcoin looks fine here. But watch that going to tomorrow. I think that's ready for a move potentially here. But again, that weekly, which is more dominant, is holding up okay. Spiders here, looks like we're getting a little bit of chop here going into the end of the day. Nothing crazy. End of month stuff, maybe rebalancing. Got about 5 minutes left into the end of the day. Tomorrow we should see some new first of the month new money flow. It'd be interesting to see if the pension funds chase big tech. So watch Nvidia, Microsoft, and Apple tomorrow. But I really like energy here, and hopefully they can give me some type of pullback because I'm looking to buy these things. I think they're going to have a rip-roaring move into the second half of the year. But right now, spiders. Again, we'll watch that fake print. Maybe that gets hit later this week. But again, for the bears, you need to break these trend lines. This trend line here, that 20 moving average. And then, again, same thing on the Qs. If you can't do that, then, we'll say a slight pierce of 390 on triple Qs and 362 to 364 on the spiders is going to be your upside for potentially later this week. Anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you guys all next week.